Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be reviewing and showing you how to play and talking about The Quick and the Undead, which was designed by...
Daryl Andrews and Adrian Animescu.
And it was published by Inside Up Games. So I want to give a big shout out to Inside Up Games for this free review copy of The Quick and the Undead that they gave us. Thank you very much. And before we get too into this review, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. There's also a link to my Teespring store if you'd like to get yourself some cool Board Game Captain merch, t-shirt, mugs, etc. And there's a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. So The Quick and the Undead, let's go over the stats. What do we got?
Let's find them. Okay, 1 to 6 players.
So there is a solo mode in there. We haven't tried the solo mode yet, but we have played it at a couple player counts. There's an alternate mode for 2 players. And now normally I might hold that against a game that they had to do an alternate mode for one of the player counts, but we absolutely love the alternate mode. And we're going to be showing the alternate mode for 2 players during our tutorial portion. So I'm not holding that against it at all.
30 to 60 minutes.
So that's a decent range. It might, though, at larger player counts, need to go a little longer. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Because it's very. There's a specific thing that needs to happen for the last round to start, and
yeah.
I mean, if you have, you have more players, you have more zombies.
More players means more duels. More duels means more undead coming out quicker. I think it should be a larger range. It's not a terrible estimate, but I think this could go. I mean, playing devil's advocate towards the fact that you could have people with analysis paralysis and you could have it go long with lots of zombies going up. I think it should be 30 minutes to 2 hours. I mean, because there could be a wide range.
Yeah.
That said, for a normal size game, the 30 to 60 minutes is not a terrible estimate.
And then 8+ made me laugh.
That might be a little under. There's a lot going on here. I think that usually I'm always complaining that game companies overestimate the age required.
Yeah.
I think I would put this up probably a couple of years to like 10.
12.
12?
I would say 12.
You might be more right. I think I'm going to actually defer to you on that. There's a lot going on.
If you break it down to the actions you take, it's very simple, but there's a lot going on and a lot to keep track of.
There is, and yeah, you know what? 8-year-olds, if there's adults present to help them out, okay. But it's a little. I think that's a little bit of an underestimate. This is actually kind of on the heavier end of medium weight. There's a lot going on, so I'm with you. It's a bit of an underestimate. So now this game itself is a bit of a I don't know whether to call it a Euro-y Amerithrash or an Amerithrashy Euro game, but it's a weird hybrid of the two because it's kind of like a programming worker placement game with a lot of dice rolling and fighting going on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
The inside says, "Don't play with guns," and all lose their turn, and shoot first, ask never, and other funny things around it, along with having a bunch of the backers from Kickstarter on it, which is really cool. I want you to start pulling out some components here while I go over the rulebook. So the rulebook is very well done. It is full color. Teaches you thoroughly how to play the game. I do quite like it. My only complaint with the rulebook is there's some cheat sheets in the back for some different things, and one in particular that's all the way on the back cover, which is a cheat sheet for the buildings, does not name the buildings. It has a little picture of them and it says what their ability is, but above the ability, I really felt like they should have named the buildings. And you can figure out what the names of the buildings are. It's just that on the tiny little pictures here, it's really hard to read the name of the saloon or the station. Minor gripe, but I did want to mention it that I had with the rulebook. So we've got the board here. What are your thoughts on the board, Lynn?
I like it. I do think, it's very thematic, but it being thematic makes some of the things difficult to see.
Yeah, it's got some nice illustration on it. I like the illustration, but it's a bit dark and the colors kind of
bleed into each other.
yeah, it feels very muddy. That said, I like the art on it, and the muddy look does fit in with the undead feel, so I don't want to really hold it against it. I mean, if they made it all bright colors, it wouldn't go with the whole Undead Wild West theme. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Like the spaces where you put the cards, it's just like you gotta look for them. Um,
I like it though. I do like it. I do think it's thematic. I don't think having bright colors would have been thematic. We got the faction cards. Overall, I like them, though I do think that the blue and the purple one are a little too similar.
well, and these two are very similar too.
Yeah, there are a couple colors that are a little similar. It's not terrible. It's a very
It's
minor
like,
bright.
is that supposed to be brown and yellow?
Yeah,
but it
brown
just looks
and-
like brown and a different shade
I
of
think
brown.
gold. I think this one's supposed to be gold. So it's minor issues there. The rest of the components, we've got a ton of punch-out chits that you're going to see while they're out. Pretty standard punch-out chits. I do want to show, why don't you pull out the cards to show? I'd like to show some of the components because I do really like the wooden outlaw meeples. These are great. They're little like gunslinger outlaw dude meeples, which are fantastic. I really like the looks of those. And the card artwork for the saloons and the undead are really cool. So like I say saloons for the buildings. This is like a station. They look nice.
Here's the saloon.
Here's the saloon. There we go. The buildings all look nice. There is a reference for some of the more complicated abilities, which are language independent on here, in the back of the book, which is helpful. The undead are great. I absolutely love the illustrations for the undead. Let's show a few different cool undead. What do we got there? Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are. I really like the illustrations for the undead. They're really cool. There's lots of different Wild West undead in here, and they are very awesome looking. All right, so that's a look at the components. Now we're going to head over to the table. We're going to show you how this game plays, run you through a full 3 rounds of it, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how this game plays and feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we are set up to play a game of the Quick and the Undead, and we are playing it using the variant rules for the 2-player game where each of us will be controlling 2 different outlaw factions. So I'm controlling the purple faction and the green faction over here. Now each of them have their own bullets, but we will share coins and notoriety once we achieve some.
I'm over here. I'm playing the blue and the red factions.
And we are ready to go. Now, to set up the game, what you have to do is set out the board in the middle of the table. You have to shuffle up the buildings and randomly deal out buildings based on the number of players you're playing. Now, with the 2-player variant, we do it based on as if it were a 4-player game. The rest of the buildings that are not used are returned to the box. Then you have to shuffle up the undead cards, and you deal out a number of them into Boot Hill based on the number of players times 3. Again, we are setting it up as if it is a 4-player game because we are playing 4 factions. Then you deal out a number of undead to buildings based on the number of players. Again, 4 for this example. Now they go to the highest value buildings, which is based on their notoriety value, and work their way down. So we had 1 5 notoriety building and 3 3 notoriety buildings. So we did it that way, worked our way slowly down. And then you get 1 extra undead placed in the middle of town here, which happened to be one of the more powerful undead. This was a random draw, but we have an incredibly powerful undead in the middle of town there. Each of the spots you place a building card on has a symbol on it that shows a specific token that you must put on that building, which is gained by the first player to take control of that building. Then each of the players chooses their colors, and you're going to take your color board, your 4 of your colored meeples here, these little outlaw meeples, and you put the other 2 meeples over there next to the board by the space for hiring guns. You also have to place 6 of the bullet tokens on your board, all on the spent casing side, and then you have to take the die and the critical hit token on the critical hit side, not the backfire side, for your faction. Then every player chooses simultaneously for their faction 3 resources to get. The resources you can get are bullets, which to get one is you flip one of the spent casings to the bullet side. Notoriety, where you would take notoriety tokens, which is what you need to win the game, and coin, which is what you need to spend to buy buildings. So all of these are useful in different ways, and both Lynn and I took one of our gangs to have 3 bullets, the other to have 1 bullet and gain 2 coin, but again, our gangs get to share the money and the notoriety between them. You place out the rest of the resources next to the board, which we have placed outside of camera shot because we just couldn't fit everything into the camera shot here. There's so much. And then you're ready to play the game. Now we randomly decided on our first player, which is Lynn's red faction, and then you go clockwise around the table. Now because of limited space, it may be a little difficult to see, but the way clockwise around the table is going to go is the red faction, blue faction, green faction, and purple faction, because that's how we have them set up, sort of, for clockwise around the table here. Space notwithstanding. So on the beginning of every turn, each faction is going to take their die and they're going to place it under their hand, hiding what selection they are choosing of the various worker placement spots simultaneously in a programming way. So we're going to start by doing that for each of our factions. Okay, so we've chosen all our numbers and we have them face down on our respective faction cards, and then the law, who's the first player, will need to ask if any players wish to hire guns. Lynn, go ahead, because you have the law token.
Does anyone want to hire guns?
Okay, neither of my factions do. Do either of your factions?
No.
Okay, now if any of the factions did, they would lift off their die, no longer counting the number, and they would place it on the higher faction space, which is in the bottom left corner of the board. Now, if they went there, they would get to go first in the order. And they would get to pay either 2 coin or 1 notoriety to hire another outlaw, getting one of the 2 extra meeples from the side, as well as gaining a bullet and getting to refresh their critical hit token. But no one usually does that the first round, which is why none of us did it. Then, once we've found that no one wants to, of course, the law will announce, all right, everybody reveal your numbers. So, Lynn, go ahead.
Okay, reveal your numbers.
Okay, and we see where we're going. So I have my purple going to 7, my green going to 2, blue is going to 5, and red is going to 7. Now 7 is a very safe space to go to because it has the symbol on it, which the symbol means that there are no shootouts at the 7 spot. So many outlaws can be there and they will not have a shootout. If multiple outlaws go to any of the other spaces, when you get down to that space, you have a shootout and possibly some of the outlaws may get killed. The initiative order is that first we do hire guns, and then we go through the spaces top number down. So 8 would go first, but there is no one on 8. Now we go to 7, and when you have multiple surviving outlaws on a space, you go in turn order. Lynn has the first player token on the red faction, so she gets to go first. So Lynn is going to get to do the ability there, which is Hunt Undead. That little bullet that is marked there is Hunt Undead, which means she can choose to shoot at any undead in town. Lynn, who are you going to choose to shoot at with that outlaw?
I'm going to try and shoot at the middle guy.
Oh, now he is a very tough guy. He needs a 6 to hit him, but she does have her 6 bullet loaded, so if she can get a 6 or a crit, which is an 8. A 6 or an 8 is what she needs to kill him. Why don't you roll it on the board so everybody can see? A 6! Holy crap! That was, wow! The luck was with you while the camera was rolling.
I was not expecting that.
And neither was I. I was expecting there to be a few rerolls. Now, if you miss, you slide, like let's say Lynn had rolled the number 3. Hypothetically, let's just change the die to a 3 so we can show this. Let's say Lynn had rolled the 3 instead of the 6. She would slide the 3 bullet, which would be a miss because both it is unloaded and of course, you still need a 6 that is loaded specifically to kill this guy. She would slide that off its spot. If she rolled another 3, she would have to stop shooting. She could keep rolling until she got either a hit or rolled a number that she had already rolled, in which case she had to stop shooting. So, but in this case, she did roll the 6, which means she's going to spend the 6 bullet to kill him, so she has to flip that over on her card, and that will, in fact, kill what is essentially the most powerful undead on the board. This particular undead is worth 6, counted 6 notoriety, because generally it is a very difficult one to kill, but Lynn got an incredibly lucky shot. So she's going to take it over there, and it's going to be counting towards her end of game notoriety. Well done. Now, if you look at the same space, you'll see that below the line, there is an option of 2 different incomes. Lynn can either get a coin or a bullet. If she takes the bullet, she'll get to possibly refill the bullet she just spent, or she could get some money, which now that there is no undead in the center of town, she could use to buy one of the buildings. You can only buy a building if there is no undead in the middle of town. But, again, she just took care of that.
I'm going to take a bullet. I'm going to load my number 3 bullet.
So, Lynn, are you going to buy any buildings for your first faction there? You do have a couple coins.
Yeah, I was going to buy I think it's train station?
Yep.
There's something that says...
Station. Yeah, so to buy the station, Lynn spends the 2 coins that it costs, and then she places the guy she just used in her 7th spot on the station to occupy it. So now it is occupied by her outlaw. She also gets 1 bullet because the station had a bullet there. Now we remove that into the supply, but Lynn gets to flip one of her bullets with that gang over, meaning that is hands down the deadliest gang on the board right now with 4 of their chambers loaded. So they are actually armed for bear compared to the other gangs. Definitely way more powerful. That would be it for the red gang. So now it's still in the 7th spot. We do the purple gang, who I was originally planning to use to try to take out that guy in the center of town, but obviously that did not go according to plan. So what I'm going to do with my purple gang is try to take out somebody else. I've decided I'm going to try to shoot this female undead who is over here on the, the town newspaper. Yeah, so I'm going to go after her. We'll see what we can do. So I'm going to start, I need to roll a 6. It's the only chamber I have, and she does take a 6 to kill her, though she has a lot of other options. I rolled a 7, so I'm going to slide the 7 cartridge off. If I roll another 7, I will fail. I rolled a 5. I'm going to slide the 5 cartridge off. If I roll another 5 now, I will also again fail. Again, still looking for a 6 or an 8 to get a crit. I roll a 6. I succeeded. That was close. So I am now empty of bullets, though, but I did get to kill her completely, which means I will get her card, and her card is worth 3 notoriety at the end of the game, which is good. So I'm going to get her and keep her. Then for my second ability, I am going to reload a bullet. I'm going to take my 6th bullet because otherwise they would be completely defenseless if Lynn decided to have a shootout with anyone in the purple gang, and I don't want that. So now we're going to move our way down from 7 to 6, which is empty, to 5, which the blue gang has occupied. The blue gang can choose to either intimidate one of the enemy gang members on one of those spaces, or, with the slash after it, could choose to fight the undead that's in town, which of course is not really an option right now because Lynn, with her red gang, already killed that undead. So Lynn, would you like to intimidate somebody who is on one of those spaces?
I would.
So which gang are you going to intimidate on which space?
I'm going to intimidate green on 2.
Ooh, so now this is very dangerous for green, because if Lynn successfully intimidates them off 2, they're not going to get to take the 2 action, which the 2 action both allows them to steal a notoriety from someone else, though there actually isn't any notoriety tokens out yet. But it also would stop me from getting all the money and notoriety I get for sitting on the 2 space, which is a lot, and I don't want this to happen. So when Lynn attempts to intimidate someone, I have only 2 options. I can pay up or I can walk out. Now, if I choose to pay up, I have to give any 2 resources of my choice, that could be coins, bullets, or notoriety, to the person intimidating me. Now, that is a steep cost, especially since I do want to hold on to my money there. She is intimidating me with someone with only 1 bullet, though, so I think I'm going to try my luck on walking out. Because the thing is, if I attempt to walk out and not be intimidated by her, she gets 1 chance to shoot me. Now, she only will hit me on a 6 or a crit, so a 6 or an 8 are the only chances for her to hit me. Granted, she has been lucky so far with these rolls, so I am hoping against hope that this does not go her way. But if she succeeds and gets to hit me, I'm going to get shot and die and go to Boot Hill. However, if she fails, I'll be fine and I will survive and get to stay on my space. She misses with a 7. Oh man, that was right between the 2 possible chances to hit me. I got lucky, but it didn't really cost Lynn anything to do the intimidation, so it's no harm, no foul for her. Luckily, my guy stays there. Now, again, if she had succeeded, I would have died. Anytime one of your guys dies, they go to the graveyard. Then point that out for me next to Boot Hill. And if you send a guy to the graveyard, your gang, the gang of the person who died, gets to take an undead from the top of Boot Hill deck. Lynn, point that there. And they will add that undead to any location of their choice within town, either the center of town or any of the buildings, adding to the undead out in play. Losing guys is also a tough issue for you later in the game. If you've lost multiple outlaws, you may not be able to take your actions throughout the day. You may need to do the higher guns action over there to try to get more outlaws back. Once you run out of outlaws in the off-board area, if you do higher guns, you can actually get them back from the graveyard. So you will never fully really run out of guys. You can always do the higher guns action. All right, so now Lynn's outlaw, having failed their intimidate, now has a chance to get 2 bullets and therefore become much more lethal if they would like to intimidate in the future.
I'm going to load my 7 spot.
Okay.
And also my 5.
Wow. So yeah, your guys are getting really deadly, and I think you're probably going to be intimidating me more next round. We'll see how this goes, because I did not get to load up my purple guy very much. He's only got 1 bullet, and now I'm looking a little bit afraid for my purple gang. But that is it for your 5 spot. The 4 and 3 is empty, so we go down to the 2 spot. I get to steal a notoriety, but no one has actually gained a notoriety token yet. We've only gotten notoriety from cards, so there's no notoriety to steal, so I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to go down to their income space where they get 2 coins, count them, 2 coins, and 2 notoriety, which means in the future, if someone wanted to steal notoriety from me, that could be a problem for me because I actually have some notoriety tokens. But now I get to buy a building, and I can buy a 4-cost building because I have 4 coins, which there are some very valuable 4-cost buildings out there. So for some of the options here to show you what we've got, the sheriff station over here has the ability shown in symbols that no one can steal bullets from you while you control it. That is a pretty cool option. But then also over here we have the brothel. Now the brothel, I would get a notoriety for taking it. It has the ability, you can give 1 coin to an opponent to have no shootout happen when there would be a shootout. So that is a pretty cool option. The blacksmith over here, which costs 4, gives you a bullet every round, which is pretty freaking amazing, and might help me get really very lethal, especially since this is my green guy doing it, who's already quite lethal. Over here, we also have the town residence, which says during the steal action, you can take 1 more of the resource that you are stealing. So of all these, I've decided I am going to place my guy on the blacksmith to get an extra coin, so that I get 1 of my coins back after having spent 4. Also, I get to get a bullet at the start of every round, which is going to be really good for my green gang, who is going to be hopefully very lethal, because Lynn's getting her guys super lethal. That is it for round 1. So now all of the dudes left out on spaces have to be laid down to show that they were from this round, from a previous round. The guys on buildings can staying up. Now we're going to move on to round 2. Lynn is going to turn her badge to the round 2 number. So now is the start of the second round. I'm going to get to do my round start ability. Now, any ability that has an exclamation point only happens at the start of each round. In this case, my green gang is to get a bullet. Now, I really wish I could give it to my purple gang, but again, when you're playing this special variant of the 2-player game, you cannot share bullets, only notoriety and coins. So I'm going to give it to my green gang, who's going to be getting even more lethal, which is really good for them. Now moving on, we're going to do like we did before and choose our numbers for each of our gangs, and then we're going to be right back to show you what happens after that.
Is anyone hiring guns?
I am not.
I am not either.
Okay, so I guess we're ready to reveal what spaces we're going to. Let's do it. It looks like we're all in different spaces again. So my purple guys went to the 1 space, which we're going to get to explain now, and my green guys went to the 8 space. Well, you had your reds go to 7 and your blues go to 3. So we're going to work our way down, but first, what happens is the 1 space guy gets to go to anywhere he wants that was not already occupied. Now, occupied means occupied by guys from this round, so since this guy is laying down on the 5 space, and that's a place where I can get 2 bullets, and I really do want to rearm my purple gang, I am going to send him to the 5 space so I can get some bullets in that gun. So now we're going to go down in initiative order, again, starting with the higher guns, which nobody did. So then we're going to go to the 8th spot. Now, in the 8th spot, we have my Green Gang Outlaw here, and he has the option to either hunt or intimidate. And I've decided to not hunt an undead. I want to try to intimidate somebody off their spot because the blue gang has gone to the space number 3, which will allow them to steal money from somebody, and I don't want them to steal money from me. So I'm going to try to intimidate them off the spot, and 3 is one of the spots listed that I can intimidate on. So Lynn, are you going to pay up 2 resources, or are you going to try to walk out?
I'm going to try and walk out.
Now, this is a much more dangerous walkout than the one I did before because, as you can see, my Green Gang is loaded up with 4 bullets and still has their crit available. So I get 1 shot at them. This is much more likely to hit, and it does with a crit. I'm going to use my crit by flipping my crit token over to the backfire side, which now means if I roll a 1 in a future shot, it will be a critical miss, which is very bad. But for this case, I kill the guy on the 3 space, which means they go to the graveyard, and Lynn gets to draw an undead card on behalf of the blue gang and place it in any spot in town. Oh, you're going to place it out there. Lynn has done that strategically to stop me from possibly buying a building this round, which was very clever of her. So now I get to either get a coin, a bullet, or a notoriety. I'm going to go for a notoriety since that's going to help me win the game right now. And actually, this faction has plenty of bullets right now. And is, being that I can't at the moment buy another building, I don't really feel like I need another coin. So we're going to work our way down, and we get to the 7 location where Lynn is at with her red gang, who gets to hunt an undead.
I'm going to try to hunt the guy in the middle.
Oh, go right for his points. He's worth 5 notoriety. So you need a 5 or a 3. Are you loaded in both those spots?
I am.
Oh, lucky you. So a 5 or a 3 or a crit. Oh, your dice are on fire today.
And I get an extra notoriety from my building.
Oh, that's right. Lynn is occupying the building that gives her an extra notoriety every time someone kills an undead. So Lynn gets a notoriety token in addition to taking that undead, and of course flips her bullet token down. Now, by the way, the reason I didn't have to flip a bullet token down when I shot her guy who walked out on me was because I had rolled a crit, so I just flipped the crit token. I just wanted to mention that real quick.
And I'm going to take a money as my reward.
As your income. Very
yes.
good. So now we work our way down. We see that the 6 is empty, and we work our way to the 5. Now I have my purple gang on the 5. I could either try to intimidate someone, which there's not really any risk to, or I could try to hunt the undead that's in the middle of town, but that's empty. So yeah, I'm going to try to intimidate someone. I've got a lot of possible spaces here, including the 7, which you are on. So I'm going to try to intimidate you off the 7. Now, granted, I'm not very intimidating because I've only got 1 bullet. Are you going to walk out?
I'm going to walk out.
I figured you might. So I'm going to give it a shot. I need a 6 or an 8. Otherwise, it's a miss. It's a miss. So I do not shoot you, but there was no risk to me, so why not try it? Now, I do get 2 bullets here, which that is very, very awesome. So I'm going to load this guy up. Looking around, I see, for instance, over here, we could use some 7s and 5s. Over there, we could use some 2, 3, 4s, and 5s. Over here, this undead could use some 6s and 7s. I see a lot of 7s. I'm going to get a 7. I also see that both of these guys could use a 3, so I'm going to also load up the 3 chamber. So now my purple gang is no longer severely undergunned, which is very, very good for me. Now, the rest of the locations are completely empty, so we're going to just speed on through to the end of the turn. We're going to lay down our guys that went this round, and we're going to have 1 final round, so Lynn, spin that to the 3rd round there, of this day before moving on to the next day. Now, again, at the start of this round, my green guy over here in the blacksmith is going to get me another bullet. My green gang is quickly becoming the scariest gang in town. They have 5 of their 6 chambers filled, which is pretty amazing. This blacksmith is definitely paying for itself, having gotten it so early. Then we are going to plan out our locations again as per normal.
Is anyone hiring guns?
I'm not. You did lose a guy. Are you going to hire guns?
Not yet.
Okay, so no hire guns. So now we'll reveal our numbers. I got an 8 and a 3.
I got an 8 and a 2.
Uh-oh, there's going to be a shootout. So we have the green gang and the red gang both going to the 8 spot. That will definitely mean a shootout. Okay, or rather a duel. So we get 1 round of shooting at each other. Now these are some very heavily armed gangs. So what's going to happen is we're both going to first take 1 shot at each other to see if we can hit each other. We want chambered areas in our boards. I got a 5, which is chambered.
Mine wasn't. I got a 6.
Okay, so what happens is I shot Lynn, she missed me. So I'm going to empty my 5 slot, and that guy is killed and goes to the graveyard. And again, Lynn will get to place an undead out somewhere. Now, something I forgot to mention before when I killed one of Lynn's guys earlier is every time you win a shootout or a duel, you get a notoriety, which again is points towards winning the game. So I'm taking my notoriety from the last shootout plus my notoriety from this shootout, which again is helping me towards winning the game and also reducing Lynn's number of workers. So Lynn, what undead guy did you get and where are they going?
I got another big guy who only takes one number. I'm going to put him under your blacksmith.
Uh-oh. Now, the thing is, this will not stop me from taking my action from the blacksmith, but what it will stop me from doing is taking the points from him at the end of the game if he is still there. So because he's there, and I don't want him there, and I do have the ability now on this location to be able to shoot somebody, I'm going to be shooting at him. Now, I do want to say before I do this really quickly, if we had both missed, what would happen is then we would actually both take the action here in initiative order, starting with the person who has the first player token and going clockwise around the table. So because I'm the only gang there, I'm going to attempt to hunt him. I need a 4 to hit him. I do have my 4 chamber filled on the green gang, but I do not have the crit available anymore. So literally the only number I can get him with is a 4. So this is going to be tough. So I roll a 1. That is a critical miss. That is really, really bad for me, because what that means is with my critical miss token up on the backfire side, I'm going to flip it over to the critical hit side so it can be used again, but I have to return to the reserves, which means I will not get my income there. So that was really, really terrible for me. So now working our way down the list, 7, 6, 5, 4 are all empty of guys from this round. 3 has my guy here who has the action to steal a buck. Give me that dollar. Then I also get $3 for this space. This is like a robbery space, and now I have a ton of money, and I can buy a building with my purple gang, which I have not yet done. So my purple gang, I think I'm going to buy the building over here. Let's see. I'm going to buy the sheriff's office because that protects me from other people stealing bullets from me, which is a really valuable ability. So I'm going to spend 4 coinage, and I'm going to put my guy on that building, which also, again, gets me a coin back, which is really, really good. Then we're going to move on to the 2 space where the blue gang is. Lynn, I'm guessing you're stealing a notoriety from me.
I'm stealing a notoriety.
Okay.
And then I am getting
2 coins.
2 coins and 2 notoriety.
So now that is not only the end of the 3rd round, but the end of the entire first day. So the first thing that's really important at the end of a day is that if you would like to maintain control of a building, the outlaw in that building must spend a bullet to do so. So this guy here is going to be spending a bullet to maintain control of the blacksmith. And this guy here is going to be spending a bullet to maintain control of the sheriff's office. How about you, Lynn?
Yeah, I'm deciding which number.
Oh, so now this is Lynn's one. She's controlling him with one of the guys from the red gang, so she's got to flip one of her bullets over.
Yeah.
And then the other guys that were on the spaces that were not killed because they didn't go to the graveyard will be being returned back to the particular gangs. Excellent. Now, the other meeples that were on these spots, of course, are no longer available to use. So there is almost certainly going to be some purchasing of new guns, hiring new guns in the first round, next round. Because, for instance, my green gang and my purple gang are both only down to 3. And Lynn's red gang is only down to 2, which almost certainly will want to hire new guns at the beginning of the next round, because that's not even enough to get all the way through the entire next day. Now, the first player token is going to be passed clockwise around the table to the blue gang, who will be starting us off for the next day. And again, like I said, the way hiring guns works, if you go here, you just put your die there. It's not one that has a number for it. You spend either 2 coin or 1 infamy to be able to get 1 meeple, recharge your crit token, and get a bullet. So it's actually really, really good if you are short on guys. Other than that, you keep going until the board is completely free of undead, not counting the face down undead in Boot Hill. That will trigger the final round, known as High Noon. Once you trigger High Noon, it cannot be reversed if someone gets more undead out by losing one of their outlaws. When you have High Noon, you play 1 more final round, and then the player with the most notoriety wins the game of the quick and the undead. In the case of a tie, you go for most coins. In the case of a tie there, you have a shootout to the death, winner take all. So now we're going to head back over. We're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, welcome back. So that was how you play a game of the quick and the undead. Again, this is a game that starts with a very Euro-y concept of like worker placement and programming, very Euro-y, and turns it super Amerithrash with you're rolling dice, you're shooting each other, you're shooting undead, and that's the thing is like you're not just killing the undead, you're also shooting each other. There's shootouts, there's duels, you're fighting the other players a lot. I mean, there's not player elimination, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's a bizarre marriage of Euro mechanics and Amerithrash feels and dice rolling. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, it makes it a very difficult game to define because it's a bit genre bending, which is really cool. All right, so let's start with some negatives though before we can end on positives. Lynn, what's a negative you have for the quick and the undead?
The page that describes what the building's special abilities is.
Yeah.
The buildings, they don't have the names on the page,
Yes.
just the picture. So you have to like,
And it's really small.
Yeah, you're looking at the card and you're like, okay, this is the saloon. And then you have to like look at the page and find the picture of the saloon instead of just it saying like saloon and having.
So it's a minor gripe. It's one I mentioned actually at the beginning in the introduction in the video, but it's totally valid. It's very difficult to look up, especially for ones that have long strings of symbols that you may not understand. The thing is, some of the ones with the really short ones, you're like, oh, I get what that does. It says every turn I get a bullet.
Yeah.
Easy. But there's other ones where like this has like 10 symbols.
There's like an equation with brackets, and you're just looking at it like, what?
You're like, what does this do? And yeah, and it takes a little while to look it up because it's a minor gripe, but it would have been such an easy thing to fix. They could have just put the names of the buildings in. My gripe is very related to this. There's no cheat sheets in this. There would be really great if it had cheat sheet cards that went over all the phases of the turn. And some basic things like how a shootout works and whatnot. And there isn't. So anything you want to look up, you have to look up in the rule book. So a little bit of a gripe, no cheat sheets. Definitely an issue with me. How about you? Any other negatives you want to do?
No, the previously mentioned the board is a little dark and the spaces are equally dark. They just have little like corner brackets showing where you put the cards, and it's very easy to completely miss a space that a card should go in.
Yeah, so a bit of a minor gripe on the presentation with the board. But I do think, and I wonder if you agree with me on this, the looks of the cards are great.
Yeah.
So the cards stand out on the boards, the buildings, the undead, they look gorgeous. And I also really like the little outlaw meeples. I mean, they're little chunky wooden meeples, which are always nice. But
yeah, little pew pew.
But making them look like outlaws, they're wearing Stetson hats and they have pistols. What is your thoughts on those?
The meeples? I like them.
And what about the artwork on the undead?
Yeah, I like the artwork.
Okay, so like the board fades into the background with its muted colors, but maybe it's supposed to. I mean, so that the cards and the meeples can stand out.
It's supposed to be the Old West.
Right.
The Old West was very
It's not,
dusty and like monochrome color.
yeah, but also it's the Old West mixed with a horror theme, which again
Yeah.
you're going to want it to be dark and dingy. I mean, it's a Wild West crossed with a undead horror theme, which is really kind of neat. Okay, positives. Go ahead.
Um, I really just I like how you have your own little player board and
Mhm.
how the player board works with the bullets.
Yeah,
I think it's neat. I
the
like flipping things.
the bullet mechanic is really interesting in this. It's very smooth and uses very much almost the same system for hunting undead as it does for hunting other living gang members. For gang members, any number could be used to shoot them, but for the undead, because undead have specific vulnerable spots like the heart of a vampire or the head of a zombie, you have to hit certain numbers and have those chambers loaded to be able to kill them, which makes them a little tougher to kill, though they're not as easy to fight back as other gunslingers are. And that is, yeah, I agree with you totally. That mechanic is pretty unique and really interesting.
Hmm.
I get a kick out of like really when you get new bullets, really looking around the table and being like, okay, which chambers are going to serve me the best? Okay, they're weak to the number two, they're weak to the number two, but they're not. They're weak to the number six, they're weak to the number six, but they're not. Which bullets should I put in? And then higher bullets are generally better when fighting other gunslingers. So yeah, it's definitely. I totally agree with you on that. That is a really cool and interesting mechanic. Now, a positive. I have this positive and negative at the same time with this because I really like the die rolling. I like the playing the odds, but at the same time, it's a kind of minor negative. There's a ton of randomness in this game, and you can get really unlucky and have your turn ruined by really poor luck. So that is something I do want to say. But at the same time, it can be super rewarding when you're hunting really tough to kill undead and you just get that one number or maybe a crit hit to be able to bring them down. So it's like at the same time, I find that to be incredibly fun and sometimes frustrating. The die rolling in this game is really fun. What about you? Another positive?
I think there's just enough randomness though,
Oh,
because there is the strategy with what bullets you're filling,
yes,
and then
true.
there's just the. I mean, if you
It's
fill,
mitigatable.
yeah, if you fill all the bullets, then
Well, yeah,
you just
but
you still got to hit the right numbers. But
true. But okay, so do you have another positive though for it?
I like the buildings. The buildings add a
The
little bit
abilities.
of extra stuff to do and to work towards.
Yes, and it's the buildings are great. The abilities on the buildings are absolutely great. I love that there's all the little take that elements like being able to steal coins, bullets, and even
Infamy,
even
notoriety,
notoriety. That's what's called notoriety. Even notoriety from the other players. It really is like I said. It's a very aggro worker placement game, which is so weird and different. But I actually really like this game. It's surprising to me how cool this game is. It's definitely very well done. Any other positives you want to throw out?
Um, no, I guess not.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go first because I think you're gonna be higher than me.
Oh.
We're both positive on this. But I think you liked it better than I did.
Okay.
I'm not sure where exactly you're at. We're going to see. But I'm going to give the quick and the undead. This was a very enjoyable experience playing this a few times for me. I really like it, and I would definitely play it a lot more. It's very different, and it holds a super unique spot in our collection. This is a very unique worker placement game. We don't have anything else that plays like this. And for all those reasons, I'm going to give it 7.5 stars out of 10. I quite enjoy it. I don't know if I like it better than a lot of the other worker placement games in my collection, but it has a unique position which will mandate that it stays in the collection because there's no other worker placement game I have that does what it does. It's so unique. But yeah, 7.5 stars out of 10. Quite like it.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
I thought you were going to be a bit higher than me.
Because while it's weird because I generally don't like aggro games, but the reason I don't like them is because I'm bad at like tactical stuff.
This isn't that
And
tactical.
with this stuff, it's I'm okay with strategy. I can be strategic,
Okay.
but like It's the tactical stuff
Thinking on the
that
fly.
I'm really bad at.
Okay.
So with this one, it's like you have to be strategic with what bullets you're filling and what places you're going. But then the actual fighting is random, which is I'm fine with.
Yeah.
It's like the things where like you have to be in a certain spot in order to attack someone else. That's like what I'm terrible at.
Right. Okay.
So it's like strategic and worker placement, but also like aggro, which is fine.
It works out for you.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay. Well, this is definitely a 2 thumbs up review from us here at the Board Game Captain. We both quite liked this game. The Quick and the Undead is very enjoyable. It's very fun. It is, in my opinion, it's kind of like a beer and pretzels game, even though there's a lot going on. When it comes down to it, it's all dice rolls. So it feels like the sort of game you can all sit around the table, have some beers, eat some pretzels, and just roll some dice. And
Maybe it could be thematic. It could be like ale and jerky.
Be very, very Wild West-ish. Sure, it'd be an ale and jerky game. But yeah, no, I quite like this game, and I definitely, if anything we talked about sounds like you would enjoy it too, I think we can recommend this game to you because, yeah, we've had a lot of fun with it. So there you have it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns either on The Quick and the Undead or this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial video and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.